Me and my friends had built a tier list of people in our class. It ranged from the toppers, the 3 and 4 people at the top echelons of the class, then the hard-working but not topper yet kind of class, which were us, like we put ourselves in that category. Then there were the ones that had potential but were not working hard, and then at the end were the total bottom losers. One day, me and one of my friends were discussing the results of an exam, and we got to know that a person whom we had previously ranked was at the bottom tier, the lowest most tier, which is like trash. They scored more than us in that particular subject. And both of us almost broke down in tears in the middle of the school. And you got to understand, two freaking 15-year-old boys crying in the middle of the day for a freaking test result is not normal. Because at that moment, our ego was shattered. We felt like this pathetic human being who has no right to score above us just scored above us. And I know that kind of sounds like cliche, and you should not categorize human beings, you should not compare yourself to others. Fuck that. Alright, fuck all of that. We should absolutely compare ourselves to other people, and that is how we improve. And sometimes ego death is very much necessary. So, what did this become? Just another realization and then we just proceeded? No. For me personally, I topped in that subject every goddamn year in every goddamn exam since then. I never came in second place again. Sometimes I indeed shared the top place with the other high performers, but I never came in second place again. I just was the topper. Whether it's a joint topper, whether it's solo topper, I never left that spot again. I never left that throne again. Because of one incident when we were 15 years old. And now I'm 18 and a half. That emotion that me and my friend felt that day was disgust, and it is one of the 4 emotions that Jim Rohn talks about on how to become successful. But I think he has got the order a bit mixed up. So here is my take on the 4 emotions that you need to become successful. Rearranged. So the original order by Jim Rohn is disgust, decision, desire, resolve. And my order after rearrangement is disgust, desire, decision, and resolve. I know it seems like a minor change, but as I go through them step by step, you will actually understand what is the meaning behind the rearrangement, as well as why you will need it and how you can benefit from it. So let's get started with disgust. So, at first, we have disgust. Now, the thing about disgust is, as I mentioned in the story, disgust cannot be manufactured. Yes, sometimes you can actually make yourself feel certain emotions by voluntarily just feeling them. If I told you to just feel anger right now at anything, you would probably manufacture the feeling of anger. But the thing with disgust is that the moment you try to manufacture disgust, the moment you try to manufacture hate, you will succeed in some kind of way. If I tell you to think about your current situation, if I tell you to think about how useless you are essentially, if I tell you to think about how you are not being able to achieve whatever you want to achieve, you will feel a bit of hatred. But this disgust that I felt in that moment is totally separate, and it is like such a high level of disgust because it is involuntary. And because it is involuntary and it is caused by some external trigger, it magnifies the amount of disgust that you feel in yourself. If you try to feel disgust right now, then you will only end up feeling some highly analytical emotions, and you can convince yourself that alright, it is not that much big of a deal because you are actually trying to think yourself, and so you know the ins and outs of your mind. But the moment some external event happens, the moment some external thing attacks your ego, you will have no chance because you will be totally vulnerable, and that moment is when you will unlock disgust. And now, perhaps that moment has already happened. Perhaps that moment is soon to come in your future, and I actually wish that something like that happens in your life. Not just total anomaly or chaos and everything breaks down. I do not want that for your life. But what I want is a moment, awakening moment that makes you think, I can't anymore. I can't take this shit anymore. I am disgusted with the way I'm living. I am disgusted with my habits. I am disgusted with anything and everything which is essentially not aligned with my identity. And so the point on disgust is going to be, it can't be scheduled. Can't be scheduled or scheduled. Whether it depends you're British or American, but that is disgust. Already talked in the first hook of the video, but essentially it cannot be scheduled, it cannot be manufactured, but it can only be processed, and it can only be used to and used as a fuel to further your goals. So moving on to number 2, the second thing is desire. And by desire, I mean something that you want to do. And it totally has to be unique. It cannot be something that is taken from a video. It cannot be something that is taken from a podcast, a book, some advice, some friend, anything. Even my videos, where I'm giving you some genuinely good advice, it cannot be taken from there because it has to be inherent. Inherent means it has to emerge from yourself. Like, think about someone who wants to do some stuff. He wants to pursue some career. He wants to pursue some arts. He wants to pursue some goals that he has. And that goal has to be authentic to him. If he is trying to pursue a goal just because society wants him, just because his parents wants it, just because he is obligated to, he will not give his 100% because he will always feel trapped. He will always feel like this is not aligned with my current identity, with my identity as a whole essentially. And so he will not give its 100%. So, and here is one cliche trap that I want you to avoid essentially, which is, in the day of internet, right? People online will they have a silent kind of bias in terms of activities. On one hand, you have left brain things. This is my right side, but this is probably your left side because the video is inversed. On one side, you have left brain things, which is like the science, the analytical thinking, the framework type of thinking. And on the other side, you have the right brain stuff, which is like comedy, which is like art, sports, and stuff like that. In the internet, what you see is most people try and leave this world to join this world, which means they leave analytical, science-based world, or like let's say mathematical or complex kind of world, to lean into more of the creative world, more of the artistic world. And that is not wrong in by any margin, but what is wrong is essentially creating a mind map in your brain, which is science is not important, which is analytical thinking is not important. And it has been kind of like a reverse brainwash type of thing, because for the last century we have made so much progress in science that we actually actively need it in almost all of our day-to-day activities. Medicine, smartphones, laptops, whatever, like the freaking AC or fan you are running to calm you down from the heat, everything needs science. And it has been kind of this trope to shit on science nowadays, because science was initially you can say perhaps superior a bit, but that is kind of an argument that we do not want to get into right now, because there is facts from both angles. But it has been society's kind of thinking that science is like already superior, and therefore it is crushing arts, and therefore we should make the arts rise up. We should promote internal thinking, we should promote individual identity, we should promote liberalism. But my personal take would be, go with what you want. My personal take is not going to be follow science. My personal take is not going to be follow arts. It is, of course, go with what you want. If somebody genuinely has an interest for mathematics, who the hell are you to tell him or her go and draw something? Like, if somebody genuinely has a thing for singing, who the hell are you to go and tell him go and solve some integrals? Like, it does not make sense, right? So both of the factions arguing for each other's demise are absolute retards who don't understand human behavior. What you have to do is find your stuff. And how can you find stuff is the interesting part. Where the hell is my marker? Yep, here we go. Summoned from the underrealms. So, what you have to do for finding your desire is experimentation. And by experimentation, I mean trying out a million things and like throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. For me personally, if I give my example, then let me play. Alright, so for me, if I try and give my example, in the last 6 years, I have had a documentary channel. I have had a channel for meme reviews. I have had a channel where I spent 10 to 12 hours editing a single piece of media, which is like 50 seconds because it's an anime edit, and the effects took so long to learn and edit on my trash hardware. And I journaled, I read philosophy, I wrote poems, I sang, I played an instrument, I played chess, I played basketball. I love science. There is just a whole bunch of activities that I have done and I have indulged myself into, and therefore I now know what I am passionate about and I now know what I want to do. So just because you feel like you do not have a general direction in life does not mean you are directionless. It just means that you have not found your goal yet. You have not found your activity of interest yet. You just have to do multiple things and see what works. If you are a person who has done literally like 2 to 3 things, and you are saying to yourself that no, this all of this does not make sense, how can I actually do and learn new stuff, you're stupid. I'll call you outright. Just go and learn some stuff. It's not that hard. Python, for example, I remember when I went to learn Python, there are hours and hours of free content on YouTube. There are like so many good websites that teach you. I'm not promoting any of them because they are not paying me money, but essentially what I'm saying is there is so much to be learned on the internet instead of consuming bullshit media. So go and learn some stuff. See what works, see what sticks. Perhaps all of this does not suit you. Perhaps the internet lifestyle does not suit you. Perhaps what suits you is like pottery. Perhaps what suits you is like woodworking. Perhaps something like forging. I used to love this show called Forged in Fire, where people would make plates and all. And just try out stuff, man. If you don't try out stuff, you will never understand what actually works. Here is a personal anecdote that many people don't know, which is I initially hated walking. I hated the idea of walking alone for like just completing like 10,000 steps a day or some bullshit like that. Totally hated the idea. Totally did not want to get out of my home, and I was just a nerd sitting in my room and this chair and just chewing away at my computer. But like the moment I stepped outside, right, essentially when I went for the 10k steps walk and all, I did not even do 10k, right? First of all, I did 12k because it's just like the math works out in that way. It's like a 2 kilometer up and down, and total 8 kilometer, which translates to 12k for me. Essentially, what I'm saying is it was fun. It was genuinely so much fun, and I did not even realize it was going to be this much fun because I initially anticipated it is going to be something like me somberly walking all by myself, just doing nothing. But I talked to people, I listened to music, I listened to a podcast, I recorded some of the Substack posts. By the way, go and check out my Substack. It is so like there was so much activities to do, witnessing the sunset, like clicking pictures, so much stuff to do. And I was just thinking before going out, I was just thinking to myself, oh, it will not be worth it, but it was absolutely goddamn worth it. And now it's a part of my daily schedule. And 10k steps for me is not the goal. The goal is for me to get out for 1.5 hours to explore, to walk, to get my health going. And the activities just come up. Perhaps I record a voice note, perhaps I talk to somebody, perhaps I click pictures, as I already said. So go out, try shit, and then experiment with shit, and then try and decide which works, which is like the thing that you want to pursue. The third thing is decision. When you actually find the stuff that you want to work on, you actually have to take a moment and decide that this is the stuff that you are going to do. And it sounds so simple, right? But most people actually do not even do it. And I'll tell you the clear example. Just because I was talking about a multidimensional life, just because I was talking about being a polymath, what most people will assume is I do 10 different things at once. And that is the thing they will try to replicate, which is they will try to pursue 10 different things at once, make zero progress in each of them, and then criticize my advice because you left the video like not watching the till the end. So here is the thing that you need to do instead. See, I'll visualize it for you. Again, let's summon the marker from the dark realms and make you understand this visually. So on one hand, right, you have let's say there is you and there is another you. One guy puts 10 like his efforts in 10 different directions. One is like learning code, let's say. Another is let's say science. Another is perhaps content creation. Another is perhaps gym. Another is perhaps chess. Another is perhaps some kind of other sports. Some people do not like to classify chess as sports, so this is for them. So what you see here is like, if you take a day, 24 hours, even if you sleep for 8 hours, you have 16 hours. It is physically impossible for you to achieve a meaningful progress in any of them. Quote this shit down. It is physically impossible for you to achieve a marginal progress in any of these activities if you try and do all of them at the same time in one day. Instead, you have another you. Here is you 1.0 and here is you 2.0. Like let's say your name is Jack. Here is Jack 1.0, here is Jack 2.0. What does Jack 2.0 do? Jack 2.0 sees all of this bullshit. He thinks he's not going to do it. Instead, he chooses one direction. Not the band, but one direction. Let's say he chooses coding, because it was decently popular back in the day. But like, let's say he chooses coding. He practices on different websites. He initially learns via different channels and all. Then he practices it on websites. Then he gets customers, like customers as in he gets the people from Fiverr, Upwork, something like that, that actually pay him for his skill. Or he develops, let's say he becomes an indie developer on GitHub. He develops stuff. He develops various important tools that go further down the line and improve humanity as a whole. I'm saying, for example, his life can go in many different directions if he just chooses to focus on coding. He'll also improve in coding. He will probably learn different branches of coding, but that is different from him spending his mental energy on rest of the task. Learning Python and learning Java and learning HTML and learning CSS and learning Rust or something like that, all of them have like the same core thing, which is like coding, right? They are under the branch of coding, so learning them is easy. But if you are trying to learn coding as well as chess, as well as what did I write down, sports, if you are trying to do all three at once, you will not achieve any progress. It is simple as that. In, let's say, chess, one day you spent on attacking, one day you spent on middle game, one day you spent on end game techniques and table bases. You will get so much far ahead than the guy who spends his days spending around chess, spending around coding, and also around some other bullshit. So the moment you narrow your things down, the moment you narrow down the things you are focusing on, essentially, is the moment you will actually unlock progress in at least one of the areas. Now let's say, and this is going to be the premise for another video of mine, which is, if he is focused on coding and then he wants to improve his chess, how is he going to do it? And I'll tease the answer quite a bit here, which is, he is going to make multiple seasons of his life, and in one season he is going to focus on coding, in another season he is going to focus on chess, so on so forth for the rest of the activities. So what if he does not prioritize, right? If he does not prioritize, if he does not select one goddamn thing, his mental energy is spent. And this is where Prioritas comes in. Prioritas is my own personal course or product or whatever you like to call it. And it is designed around the simple concept of wanting to make prioritization easy for you. Like, so many people say this thing that they have priorities. Priorities is not a real word. You should have only a freaking priority. Everything else should be in maintenance. So my course is built to guide those people who feel like they have a whole host of things that they want to pursue, because I am a polymath myself. So I need to focus on one thing, otherwise I'll just be distracted by 10 other things. And so I built it specifically for those people who are in need, and currently it is on a pre-sale, so you can pre-order it in a much lesser price, probably half the price currently, and when I launch it I'll increase the price, so you can book your slot now. Now getting back to the fourth thing. The fourth thing is resolve. And the reason I wrote down all the previous three things here is because so that you do not forget them. And secondly, because these kind of three things are like so much different from the fourth thing. Disgust is something that happens to you, it's uncontrollable. Desire is you going out experimenting. Decision is you deciding in the moment what you want to pursue. But resolve is the one that is going to kick your ass essentially, because it is the thing that you have to do daily. You have to have the resolve to do a particular task every day, whatever you decided on, right, in the previous step. Initially you felt disgusted by the way you lived, then you found out a new activity that you enjoyed, then you decided you are going to pursue this activity, and at the final you have the resolve. You have to make the resolve to do that activity daily, or like in whatever schedule that you fix yourself. Resolve essentially means not resolve essentially, as in the seminar, Jimron found this answer from a girl in, like, he was teaching her, and the girl replied that resolve means promising yourself that you will not give up. And it is such a beautiful definition, because generally what happens is, like, we all know initially you get super hyped from a new concept, and then the energy dips down and you fall back into the same habits. Resolve is essentially telling, nope, I'm not going to be the same person again. And here is the personal story of mine that is very much live, like it happened today. So for the last couple of days, last week or so, I had been waking up at horrible times, like ungodly amount of time, like 9 a.m, 9:30 a.m, 10 a.m. I was waking up at that much amount of, like, horrible timing. And I felt so bad inherently, because first of all I did not have my best hours, and second of all, uh, even after I slept for like 9 or 10 hours, I still felt groggy, because for some reason my circadian rhythm decided that I need to wake up at the time where my body is like exhausted. So I made a decision, which is like, from now on I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m onwards, regardless of whatever, regardless of whenever I go to sleep, because that is the one thing that is going to keep me disciplined. So resolve meant that I actually follow through. Now what happened is, I indeed slept at a reasonable hour. I slept at 11 p.m. But just because my circadian rhythm was aligned to the previous baseline, which is like sleeping at 1 or 2, I could not sleep until 1 a.m. So I just lied in my bed for like 2 or 3 hours. 2 hours, from 11 to 1. Yeah, 2 hours I lied in my bed and looked up at the ceiling, I guess. Essentially visualizing different scenarios in my head. That is what I do before sleep. But generally it takes me less time. It generally takes me 10 minutes to go to sleep. But for that night, for yesterday night, it took me 2 hours to go to sleep. And at 1 a.m, right, just when I was about to go to sleep, I remembered that I had the alarm set up for 5 a.m. And it was like the kind of hard alarm that you wake up, you have to do some maths or do some activities, and only then can you actually close the alarm. I felt for a moment that I should close it, but I did not close it. Instead, I woke up at 5 a.m. with 4 hours of sleep. For the guy who has been getting 10 hours of sleep for the last couple of days, waking up with 4 hours is ridiculous. But that is what I thought. Because you see, it's not that ridiculous once you actually wake up. Like, from the morning, I have made the thumbnail, I have made the script, I have recorded the video, I have planned out my content strategy. I have done, like, I'm actively recording the video, and after that I'll be editing. So from the morning I have done so much worth of task that would have taken the past me like 2 or 3 days to complete. I have done all of that in just a single morning, just because I had the resolve to not turn off my alarm, to wake up and not go to bed again, to actually go to bed at the proper time, even though my circadian rhythm is fucked, but it will be fixed in a day or two. And that is resolve. That is the power of promising yourself and not breaking that promise. Promising yourself that you are actually going to work on the thing that you decided to work on. Every day is not going to be rainbows or sunshine. Every day is not going to be the best day of your life, and you will always feel happy about that. Definitely no. And that is the moment when it matters. With 4 hours of sleep, I feel like I can barely function in a cognitive way, because after every 30 minutes to 1 hour of work, I am getting this kind of 10-minute of a block of, like, totally my brain crashing out, and I just want to sleep. But I overcame it, and that is the resolve. Everything, like, everything does not have to be pleasure related. Everything does not have to be around hedonism. The modern world has convinced us that consumerism, that consuming whether content and feeling soothed always, like always feeling like you should not feel bad, or you should not feel guilty, or you should not feel horrible or terrible. Modern world has convinced us that feeling all of these negative emotions is bad, but it is not inherently bad. For example, if I told you the very good example of biology, let's say you are feeling fear, it is because a predator is nearby. So will you actually is that a reasonable fear or not? Like, is that a reasonable feeling or not? The answer would be yes, because since you are feeling fear, you will prepare yourself to attack or flee. Then you will be safe. So fear is justified. Fear is a bad emotion, but it is still justified because outcome is your life. So by freaking biology, the negative emotion is justified. The reason you feel negative emotion is because something is wrong, right? And your point is to fix that thing. If you had always been in pleasure, if you like always indulge yourself in pleasure and you block out those negative emotions, you will never actually understand what is wrong with you. Like, that is not a cliche sentence, that is actually the premise of the entire video, which is like, what is wrong with you, figure out what is wrong with you and then work on it. It is self-improvement is as simple as figuring out what the hell is wrong and then fixing it. Like, the entirety of self-improvement can be compressed into it. And I myself as a creator on this space should not be saying it, but that is what self-improvement is. Rest everything is like just the ways, just the tactics and all. But the main thing is figuring out what is wrong, why it is wrong, and dealing with it. And so resolve is the thing that makes the difference between the guy who thinks about painting, who thinks about doing some stuff and researches about doing some stuff, versus the guy who actually sits down and does the stuff, or he stands up if he's playing some sports. Now go and check out my personal Substack where I write when I feel like the mood for it, and else go and check out Prioritas, which is my product, and if you can afford it. Also comment down below your opinions and thoughts on the entire video, and if you want to see something or you want to contact me with some problem and all, comment down below, I'll be sure to respond. And as always, start if you haven't already.